course.
Or maybe you've already got one out there in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it's amazing how many courses there are now, but it's also kind of overwhelming, right?
It really is. Like, where do you even start? And one of the biggest decisions you'll face is choosing the right platform to, build and sell your course on.
Totally. And that can feel like a whole other course in itself sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, by 2025, the industry is supposed to be worth something like $325 million.
Wow, $325 million. That's insane. But it shows you just how much opportunity is out there. And that's what we're diving into today, helping you navigate this booming landscape and find the best platform for your needs.
And we're not just pulling this out of thin air. We've got 3 really insightful sources we're going to be unpacking today. One is a YouTube review by Melissa from Witten Wire. She's a course creator herself, so she's got that insider perspective.
Right, and then we have that Zapier article all about automation, which, let's be real, is a lifesaver for anyone running an online business.
Totally. And last but not least, we have a best of listicle that gives us a nice overview of the market.
Okay, so before we get lost in the weeds of specific platforms, Melissa from Witten Wire makes a really important distinction between marketplaces, those big names like Udemy and Skillshare, and then independent platforms.
Yeah, and that's like the first fork in the road for course creators. Do you want the reach of a massive marketplace or the control and potentially higher earnings of going independent?
It's like that classic dilemma. Do you try to get a table at the hottest restaurant in town, or do you create a cozy and unique dining experience in your own space?
I love that analogy. And Melissa actually shared that even with thousands of students on Skillshare, she was only making a couple $100 a month.
Wow, really? That's way less than I would have thought.
Right. And that's after the platform takes their cut. And another thing to keep in mind with marketplaces is that they often limit your access to your students' email addresses, which makes it really hard to build those direct relationships that are so essential for a sustainable business.
It's true. Building an email list is like having your own marketing goldmine, and marketplaces kind of put a damper on that.
Exactly. So right off the bat, you got to ask yourself, am I trying to build a recognizable brand? Or am I more focused on just getting my content out there as quickly as possible?
Right, because those are 2 very different paths, and the platform you choose should really align with your long-term goals.
Absolutely. So assuming you are interested in crafting a thriving online course kingdom, let's talk about the software options out there. Melissa breaks it down into what she calls specialist platforms and all-in-one platforms.
Now, all-in-one sounds pretty enticing, but also a little like a unicorn, Is it really possible to have everything you need in one place?
You're right to be a little skeptical. All-in-one definitely sounds like a marketing dream.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's some solid reasons to choose that route, even if you're pretty tech-savvy.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, before we dive into that, let's explore those specialist platforms first.
Sounds good. Our sources highlighted some of the heavyweight champions in this category. Thinkific, Teachable, Thrivecart, which I'll admit was a new one for me, and Circle, which is laser-focused on community building.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Thinkific. Their free plan is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, unlimited courses, that's unheard of these days.
Right. They're like, hey, come on in. The water's fine.
Exactly. You can dip your toes in without any financial risk. It's perfect for testing the waters, seeing if your course idea resonates before you go all in.
And if you're looking for something a little more, cutting edge maybe, Teachable has been getting a lot of buzz with its AI features.
Oh, yeah. Though, full disclosure, when I was researching this, I saw those AI features are still in beta.
Yeah, good point. Important to keep that in mind.
And speaking of Teachable, I was a little surprised by their pricing. It's actually gone up since the last time I checked, but the features in each plan have decreased.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, it's like going to your favorite restaurant and they're like, smaller portions, higher prices, hope you enjoy.
That's a good reminder to always read those fine print details.
Definitely. Now, Thrivecart is a whole other animal with its lifetime pricing model. Pay once and you're set for life.
It's a pretty sweet deal if you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Although it does make you wonder about their long-term stability. What if they suddenly disappear?
Right. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And with Thrivecart, there's also the catch that you have to handle your own video hosting.
That's true. It does add a layer of complexity. And finally, we have Circle, the king of community-driven platforms.
Oh, yeah. If fostering those connections between students is your top priority, Circle is the way to go.
And I love that they have a mobile app. I mean, let's be real. Everyone's glued to their phones these days.
So true. It just makes sense to meet people where they are. Okay, so we've got our specialists, each with its own strengths, and Let's call them quirks.
Yeah, quirks. But what about those all-in-one platforms? Are they the holy grail of online course creation, or are they too good to be true?
That's what I'm dying to know. Let's unpack that next. So we've talked about those specialist platforms, the ones that really hone in on just the online course aspect of things.
Right, but now let's talk about the all-in-one platform.
Yeah, the ones that promise to be your one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah, exactly. And, all-in-one, it can sound a little, I don't know, gimmicky.
Oh, totally. Like, are they really all they're cracked up to be?
Yeah, is it just a marketing ploy, or is there actual substance there? And the truth is, there are some really solid reasons to consider an all-in-one platform.
Okay, I'm listening. Convince me, because I'll admit I'm a bit skeptical.
Okay, so imagine this. You're trying to juggle like a million different tools and subscriptions for your online business. You've got your email marketing platform, your landing page builder, your shopping cart software.
Okay, yeah. It's making my head spin just thinking about it.
Right. It's a lot, and it can get really expensive and really complicated trying to make all those different pieces work together seamlessly.
Okay, so an all-in-one platform would essentially streamline all of that.
Exactly, and that's a huge time saver and a stress reliever, especially if technology isn't really your jam.
That makes a lot of sense. But what if you are tech savvy? Are there still benefits to going with an all-in-one platform then?
Absolutely. Even if you're comfortable with the technical side of things, having everything consolidated in one place can just make your life so much easier. Plus, a lot of these all-in-one platforms are really stepping up their game when it comes to features and functionality.
Okay, so they're not just for beginners then.
Not at all. They've really evolved to meet the needs of seasoned course creators as well.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about some specific all-in-one platforms that our sources highlighted. Kajabi seemed to be a top contender.
Yeah, Kajabi is like the marketing automation powerhouse. They really understand that whole marketing funnel concept.
Okay, whenever I hear funnel, I kind of tune out a little. Can you break that down for me?
Yeah, so picture an actual funnel, right? Wide at the top, and then it gradually narrows down to the bottom.
Okay, I can visualize that.
And that's essentially how a marketing funnel works.
Yeah.
You start by attracting a wide audience at the top of the funnel, maybe with a freebie or a webinar or something.
Okay.
And then as they move through the funnel, you nurture those relationships, you provide valuable content, you build trust, and ultimately you guide them towards making a purchase, which is at the bottom of the funnel.
Oh, okay, so it's all about gently guiding your audience towards that end goal.
Exactly. And Kajabi just excels at automating that entire process for you. They have all these tools for creating landing pages, email sequences, sales pages, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, so it's like having a virtual marketing assistant working for you 24/7.
Basically. And that frees you up to focus on what you do best, creating amazing course content. But, and this is important to keep in mind, that streamlined approach can sometimes feel a little limiting for creators who really crave that granular control over every single detail.
That makes sense. It's always a trade-off, right? Flexibility versus ease of use.
Exactly. So if you're someone who wants to meticulously customize every aspect of your brand and your marketing, Kajabi might feel a little too constricting.
So it's not necessarily the best fit for everyone, but it could be a game changer for those who are looking for that automation and that streamlined approach.
Exactly. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have Podia, which our sources mentioned as a more budget-friendly, all-in-one option.
Oh yeah, Podia has a really nice, clean aesthetic too, from what I've seen.
Totally. It's very minimalist, very user-friendly. You're not going to get bogged down with a million bells and whistles.
But I'm guessing that minimalist approach comes with some limitations.
You know it. There are always trade-offs, right? So, for example, with Podia, you're a little more limited in terms of course page customization.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You're basically working within their pre-designed templates, which might not be ideal if you have a very specific brand identity you're trying to maintain.
Yeah, that could be a deal breaker for some.
For sure, especially if branding is super important to you.
So Podia, it's like the minimalist friend who's always put together, but maybe their wardrobe is a little bit limited.
I love that. And then for creators who are really watching their budget, we have to talk about System.
Oh yeah, System. They've got that awesome free plan, right?
They do. Even more generous than Thinkific's free plan, actually.
Really? How so?
Well, for starters, with System's free plan, you can actually sell a course without having to pay any transaction fees.
Wow, that's a pretty sweet deal.
Right. But, and you knew there was a but coming, right?
There's always a catch.
Always. With System, the trade-off for that amazing free plan is that their branding options are even more limited than Podia's.
Oh, so your course could end up looking a bit generic.
Yeah, it's kind of the price you pay for that free access.
It's like you get what you pay for, but sometimes getting something for free is a pretty good deal.
Exactly. Now, Melissa also briefly touched on a few other platforms in her YouTube review.
Oh yeah, she did a quick rundown of things like Experienceify and what was the other one? Kartra.
Yeah, Kartra, that's another big one.
And LearnWorlds, I think that was the third one.
Right, LearnWorlds. Each of these platforms has its own unique selling proposition.
Right, like Experienceify is all about gamification, which can be really cool if it's done well.
For sure, gamification can definitely boost engagement if it's done right, but it's important to make sure it's actually enhancing the learning experience and not just distracting from it.
Right, like we don't want people so focused on earning badges and points that they're not actually absorbing the material.
Exactly. Now, ultimately, none of these other platforms really dethroned our top contenders for various reasons, whether it was pricing, features, ease of use, you name it.
Right, and it's important to remember that we're specifically looking at platforms for independent course creators today.
Yeah, so while those big marketplaces like Open Sesame and LinkedIn Learning definitely have their place, they weren't really the focus of our deep dives today.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. It's a lot to process. Before we move on, are there any key takeaways you think our listeners should really keep in mind when they're trying to make this decision? So we've explored all these different platforms, but it still feels like, how do you actually choose? Where do you even begin?
Yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed with all the options.
It really is, especially with all the marketing jargon and the flashy features.
Right, it's like they're speaking a different language sometimes.
Totally. So how can our listeners cut through all the noise and find that perfect platform for their unique needs?
Well, I think the first step is to kind of take a step back from all the tech stuff,
Okay, yeah. Get out of the weeds a bit.
Exactly. And really think about what matters most to you as a creator. What are your non-negotiables?
Love that. So it's about defining those must-haves, those deal breakers, and then those nice-to-haves.
Yes, exactly. It's like, what are the absolute essentials you can't live without in a platform? What are the things that would make you run for the hills? And then what are those bonus features that would be sweet to have, but not a make or break situation?
Okay, I'm with you. So once you've got those priorities straight, what's next?
Well, then it's thinking about the role of community in your course. Do you envision it as a more solo learning experience, or is that interaction and discussion between students something you really want to foster?
That's such a good point, because some courses really lend themselves to that self-paced, independent approach, while others really thrive on that sense of community.
Exactly. And if you're leaning towards that more community-driven approach, you might want to consider platforms like Circle or Mighty Networks, which actually integrates really well with a lot of other platforms.
Right, because they're specifically designed to foster those connections between people.
Precisely. So it's almost like choosing between like a bustling workshop where everyone's collaborating and sharing ideas versus a quiet library where people are more focused on individual study.
I love that analogy. Okay, so you've got your non-negotiables, you've considered the role of community. Is there anything else our listeners should be thinking about?
Yeah, I think the most fundamental question you need to ask yourself is, do you see yourself primarily as a teacher or as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's a big one.
It really is, because some platforms are really designed with educators in mind. They emphasize those pedagogical features, student engagement, that kind of thing.
Right, they're all about the art of teaching.
Exactly. Whereas other platforms are more geared towards online business owners. They're all about the marketing automation, the sales funnels, scaling your revenue.
So it's not just about the technical features themselves, but the underlying philosophy of the platform.
Exactly. Like, what are their values? What do they prioritize?
Okay, so how do you figure out which one resonates more with you?
It really comes down to self-reflection. Thinking about your own values as a creator, your goals, your priorities.
It's like choosing the right business partner. You want to make sure your visions are aligned.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, the best platform for you is the one that aligns best with your unique vision and your goals.
It's not about finding the right answer, but finding the right fit for you.
100%. And, going back to Melissa's YouTube review, she said something that really stuck with me. She asked, what if the most important factor in your course's success isn't the platform itself, but how well you understand your ideal student?
That's such a good point, because we can get so caught up in the tech stuff, that we forget about the human element.
Exactly. Like, who are you creating this course for? What are their pain points? What are their goals? What motivates them?
Because at the end of the day, it's about connecting with your audience on a human level.
100%. And if you can do that, you're going to be successful regardless of the platform you choose.
So well said. And that is a wrap on our deep dive into the world of online course platforms.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We really did, from specialist platforms to all-in-one solutions, community-driven hubs, you name it, we talked about it.
And hopefully we've given our listeners the information they need to make a confident and informed decision.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, the best platform for you is the one that you feel most comfortable with, the one that meets your specific needs, and the one that you can see yourself using for the long haul.
Absolutely. So go forth and create amazing courses.
That's right. And until next time, happy diving.